Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the second half of the Career Development Workshop, Building Your Relevance in the New Normal. I am delighted to be presenting on the second half of this workshop, and I thank ScienceBridge as well as BioCity once again for giving me the opportunity of paying forward the knowledge and the skills and the tools that I'm able to provide to you, and in order to get you set up and ready for the career world. So I'm not sure if any of you had the opportunity of listening to the pre-recording. It's actually quite nice to be speaking to you live for a change and not on a pre-recording. I left you with a bit of food for thought, which was really about those soft skills that are in fact transferable and power skills, as we call them. I don't think we actually understand the power behind those transferable skills and how you can in fact promote and sell yourself based on those skills that you have learned and those inherent behaviors that you have actually picked up whilst you have been studying. You need to use those to your best advantage. And today I'm going to continue to speak to you about how to actually weave them through your experience with finding opportunities and your future employer out there. So just to go over the agenda on what I covered in the pre-recording, we tackled the new normal world that we are living in, which we either can look at as disruption or revolution. The choice is really yours at the end of the day. We looked at the South African and the African labour trends versus global, and there's quite a lot of similarities, as you have no doubt witnessed. The important factor of how the role of the post-pandemic recruiter is also an essential piece, and why I say that is because they've had to change the manner in how they are looking and sourcing and recruiting in this whole new world of work. And understanding that makes it that much more easier for you to actually position yourself in the employment market. Personal branding, which as I said was also very important, and that's where we actually, like one would craft one's company employer brand, think of yourself as an employer brand as well, but yet you are your own persona. You need to actually build and market and, as I say, get yourself out there in a premeditated way. It takes a bit of work, but it is worth it. I left you with the power behind the transferable skills, which we chatted about, and I gave you a whole lot of examples on what you might not have thought of. And as I said, the best would have been to actually find a partner that's either attending the expo today, exchanging those ideas and looking at each other critically and saying, okay, what do you think those power skills are that I actually can put on my CV or actually promote when I go on social media or when I'm in my interview? What do you think stands out for me? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go out of my presentation, and I want you to please go onto the website menti.com, and I am going to ask you to put that code in and give me an indication of what your top 3 power skills are, so that we can actually see how it in fact plays out on the mind map. So here we have our mind map, and I would love to see how this populates. All you need to do is go on to www.menti.com and use the code and start putting in the top 3 power skills that you reckon to be the most relevant in our workplace today. Because this is what you need to really package in your CV and in your communications that you in fact have with the people that you are speaking to. What are the top power skills? Beautiful. Agile thinking, communication, time management. Absolutely. Those are so, so important. And think about it. We are using that all the time. We're using it in our everyday, but also as we go to work with trying to look for career opportunities in the marketplace. I'm going to give us a little bit more time. Can anyone add to that? What else is it that you feel you have to offer, and the skills that you've in fact picked up whilst you have been doing your studies? Think of it in the sense of when you had to complete thesis, when you've had to work in a team environment. Think about how you've had to meet deadlines. Think about how you've had to present and all the different skills you've had to pull in that regard. There are so many different skills that you have used within your academic years. Think about those and please see if you can add them in there. Is there anyone that can come up with additional power skills? These are the power skills that you're going to interweave as you build your roadmap to getting a career opportunity in the workplace. Very good. Maintaining a clean works. Okay, and I am presuming that's obviously very much around getting your personal brand out there and ensuring that your social media profile is good and clean and it is professional as well. Anyone else that can add more ideas there? Otherwise, I'm going to move on and give you some examples, further examples that can assist you when it comes to building your personal brand and your CV and your social media reference points. So let me move on. We need to ensure that you amplify your power skills throughout this roadmap, throughout this journey. You need to ensure that your resume and your full CV is well crafted. Now, ScienceBridge has got a number of different tutorials on how to build your CV and your resume. And these are fantastic reference points. Having a look at how to unpack a job description and position yourself based on the fact that you feel that you've got the matching skills that will be able to cater for the needs of that employer that's looking for someone like you. Your social media channels also are out there. But we're going to have a look at what is really necessary in terms of putting a professional profile out there. You might have been using it socially, but now as you enter into the workplace, your whole personal brand takes on a whole different approach. A lot of people I do know have personal websites as well. And this is quite a nice recommendation, because instead of giving people too much content to read about you, you can always put a URL link and let people have the option to get a deep dive on who you really are, whether it be your hobbies, your arts, your crafts, any papers, any thesis, any blogs, any articles that you've written. So I highly recommend a personal website as well. Your interview, and Jane Moores from Outer Box Thinking is going to be covering this, is also important. And how to actually answer questions in a way that you can really position the power skills that you have built over the years within your study chapter of your life. And then the communications before and after your application phase, because at the end of the day, you're being looked at at a personal brand level, not only in how you put a CV together, but the manner in which you engage and communicate along the way. From the moment that you start engaging with a prospective employer, right through to keeping your foot in the door and understanding if you were successful or if not, on what reasons you really were possibly qualified or disqualified. So Martina is going to be putting links in the chat, and I've requested that you put a link in for this roadmap, and there's information, supporting information that will also further give you insights on how and what to look for when you build the tools in order to secure a job successfully. So I thought I'd pull these statistics because I think it's very important for you to understand not only what you're up against in terms of the global or the South African representation on social media. While social media has got its advantage points, many people are using it, and you need to, I always say, fly above the noise. You need to work that much harder in order to make yourself stand out as a personal brand, because everyone is competing for attention at the moment. Think about it. Whether it be suppliers of goods and services, whether it be people looking for jobs, everyone is on social media. So it's essential for you to understand what stats we are sitting with at the moment, and the most popular and most used platforms, as you can see. The age, genders as well of the audiences that are using social media. The different ways brands are being discovered, also very important. And the different and the biggest platforms, social media platforms that are being used. And as you can see, the most prominent ones are Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So this is essential for you before you actually start looking at how you are going to position yourself. These social media insights and stats is really readily available on the World Wide Web, and you need to ensure that you stay attuned to it, because this is how you are going to capitalize on positioning yourself via the channels that recruiters are in fact looking at in order to source talent like you. So from a recruiter's perspective, 40 million people search LinkedIn for jobs every week. And as you can see, it's the most popular channel for recruiters when it comes to finding top talent. But interestingly enough, 73% of millennials found their last position directly through a social media platform. And these are global stats. It's not specific to South Africa, but still worthwhile thinking about. I also want you to hold your thought when it comes to the high percentage when it comes to referrals, because I'm going to be covering the aspect of networking and how you can actually further your footprint and what levers you can pull on in order to maximize the opportunity of getting and securing a job. These are statistics from Universum, which is a data-led employer branding organization that you might have heard of. They basically want to understand from professionals like you, or make it their business to understand from professionals like you, where you are going and what your sentiments are. Who are the top employers that you aspire to aligning with? But my focus for today is really on having a look at the insights, the latest insights that they have gathered on trends and the various digital channels that professionals, young graduates like you are looking at. And as you can see, social media, online job boards, employers' career websites, career guidance websites are big, 94%. And in fact, there has been an escalation of the number of channels that talent is using on average from last year to this year. So, as you can see, there's a lot of activity within these different channels. And you need to use these multi-channels if you really want to be noticed and you really want to position your personal brand. I put this slide up because I think it's also important from an awareness perspective that when you are going out there, these are the different channels at your disposal when it comes to finding and accessing information on your ideal employer. There's a wealth of information out there at your fingertips, and the onus is really on you to actually do your homework and source the information, especially when it comes to looking at the values, the behaviors, the employees' stories and everything, in order to understand whether, is that really the company that I want to align myself with? Does it follow my purpose and the impact and the belonging that I would like to really see at my ideal employer? So make sure that you do not lose sight of these touch points. The top challenges facing recruiters and job seekers in 2021. Again, you might ask, so why is Celeste actually showing me information about recruiters and what their sentiments are? As job seekers, you need to understand how they roll at the end of the day, how they are actually looking at sourcing talent like you. Because if you can put yourself in their shoes, you can play into their hands very successfully. As recruiters, they are also, like all of us, trying to adapt to this whole virtual world of work. They presented with a borderless talent market now, because as we have seen, technology has allowed us and has allowed companies to plug in where they've got skill short gaps with people from across the globe. They don't necessarily have to be located in South Africa or Africa. They can find talent abroad and all over. So be aware of that as well. Connecting with candidates is also a challenge to them. So what does that say? That means you need to make it easy for them to connect with you. Make yourself stand head and shoulders above the rest and be noticed. Assessing candidates online, which underpins what I've just said now. Finding top talent in a remote world and a remote model. So again, being remote possibly is quite challenging when it comes to running virtual conferences versus in person. Long distance onboarding is a huge challenge for many companies at the moment because many companies at the moment have not actually met people in person. All of the interviewing, the screening, the panel interviews, and onboarding is done remotely. So these are the challenges that recruiters face. When it comes to job seekers, there is that level of pandemic insecurity, which is obvious. It goes with the territory and the climate we are living in. Yes, companies are still looking for productivity and performance-driven hires, people that can stand, will hit the ground running and be able to stand in a position and get going immediately. Finding a job with work-life balance. Interestingly enough, many people have started looking at life quite differently, at purpose, and having a look at affiliating themselves to companies that have got a strong level of social awareness or environmental awareness and other aspects outside of just being a profitable organization. The multiple interview rounds, the remote hiring being the new norm, is also a very challenging aspect. And finding the right organization which offers great perks and benefits, yes, it's all very well and fine. But they're also, as I say, beginning to realize that the softer, more intangible and purposeful aspects are coming into play. But yes, perks and benefits continue to help. Even if it is not the ping pong table, but it's food from Mr. Delivery or hampers of appreciation. So what I'm going to do with you is, when I presented in person, it was actually quite a nice exercise to do because the grads basically pulled a friend on the sleeve and said, listen, let's share this information. You look at my social representation online and I'll look at yours and let's swap notes. And this exercise is very important because what you're actually doing is you're auditing yourself now. And we do this when it comes to doing competitive analysis and auditing of employer brands, because often companies want to know the good and the bad and the ugly of how they are actually positioned out there and how people perceive them. The same needs to happen with you as well. You are a personal brand and you need to have a look at how competitive you are and how professional you are and what kind of look and feel and brand you have out there when recruiters are looking at sourcing good, strong talent like you. So what I'm going to ask you to do is put yourself into the shoes of a recruiter seeking to find more information on you as a prospective employee. And type in your personal brand or your name and see how you feature when you Google yourself. Do this, and I'm not expecting you to do it now, unless you're tempted to do it now because maybe you haven't thought of this before, but I would like you to actually do this in your spare time. And please take a screenshot of this because this is the template that you need to complete in order to understand what your personal brand audit reveals about you. The first thing is, was it easy to find you? Because if you are not searchable, you're not going to be found by companies or sources or talent acquisition specialists that are looking for talent like you. So that's the first thing. On what channels did you appear? And were those channels professional channels or not? And then understanding that you are now moving into deliberately looking for a profession and career opportunities and growth. So do the images and the videos that you see of yourself when you do your brand audit, how do they reflect? Or how do they reflect the people that you are associated with? This all tells a story, and whether you like it or not, if you are in the public space, you are a brand, you have a brand whether you like it or not. How you shape and how you actually form and manage it is really on your head at the end of the day. The associated comments, the posts of yourself, as well as what others are saying about you, is also very relevant. So do yourself a favor and have a look at that. Have a look at the groups that you've joined. Does it give a good professional impression of you? Do you think when a recruiter looks at the groups that you have joined that they think, wow, this person is really making it their business to upskill themselves and ensure they're a subject matter specialist, or they're passionate about the field that they are in? Have a look at the friends as well that you're associated with as well, and have a look at the images that go with that. And please look at your privacy settings as well. Thereafter, sum it up and say, do I need to fix my brand reputation and my image or not? I appeal to you that you now do this rather sooner than later, as this is your departure point. I always say, begin with the end in mind. It's a Stephen Covey statement. And that is about really saying, if you want to get a job, you need to begin somewhere. So do that audit and have a look at what comes up. Some more statistics to back up what I've just been saying and why your social media reputation matters. Employers do more than find worthy candidates on social media platforms. In fact, they use it to weed out bad ones. And you might say, hey, that's rude, and how can they do that? And that's not their place. The fact of the matter is you are in the public space, and just by doing that, they are at liberty to do that. So nearly a quarter of employers, in fact 22%, who checked out candidates on social media are looking for a reason not to hire the candidate. They're also looking for information that supports your qualifications for the job. 58% in fact do that. And if candidates have a professional online persona, which is why we are here today, right? And what people are actually posting about you as an individual, as a candidate, because this supports your personal brand. Employers find plenty of reasons to reject candidates. And as I say, the reason I've asked you to do that audit is because they're looking for whether you have provocative or inappropriate content, alcohol or drugs, discriminatory comments or race, gender, religion, signs of criminal behavior, lies about qualifications, and so the list goes on. These are statistics, ladies and gentlemen, and these need to be taken into account. Your posts might just help you getting hired in that. But these are the reasons why candidates have been hired. A social media presence that matches their professional qualification. Creativity, and I'd like to add attention to detail and care and manner in which you're crafting your personal brand. A professional website, which I spoke to you about as well. Are you making the effort to do something about putting yourself out there? A well-rounded range of interests, a strong fit with the company culture. So what are your values? What are your beliefs in that? What do you strongly stand by? What kind of awards and accolades? You need to put that out there. And yes, you do put it within your resumes and your CVs. But you need to also ensure that this supports your social footprint as well. What kind of following have you got? And what is the nature and the persona of those followings? So now that we have the brutal facts, let's get down to business. I'm ready. First of all, let's have a look at LinkedIn tips. And I'm putting LinkedIn up here because, as I said, this is the most popular channel that recruiters and sources are looking at when it comes to sourcing good, professional, high-demand talent like you. Increase the dwell time. The dwell time is the amount of time that people sit on your profiles. And there's a number of ways you can actually do that. The dwell time is the algorithms that both Google and LinkedIn pick up as to, is this an interesting profile or not? Is the audience actually resonating with this profile? Now, if you build a compelling personal brand, the manner in which you craft this will increase the amount of dwell time that possibly talent acquisition, sources, recruiters, companies are spending on your profile. It's also important to add URLs and images. And when I say URLs, it could be anything to do with possibly an article that you wrote. It could be a thesis that you wrote. It could be the URL to your personal website. Images could be around an award that you won, an accolade of recognition. Also, LinkedIn is saying add white space and not blocks of text because it's just too content intensive. Include publications, as I said. Location keywords also gains visibility, and I found this to be quite interesting. Yes, we are moving into a global talent environment, but putting keywords as to where you are located might give the recruiter an indication of, okay, if we're working in a hybrid workplace environment, maybe they can pop into the office or they are easily located and it will work that they are living in that region. Don't forget to include your transferable skills. And we'll look at how to package that later in the presentation. Delete the irrelevant skills and the endorsements. Sometimes what happens is we might have irrelevant content that we put on there a while back. I always say that a brand is like a living organism. It needs to be re-looked at over and over again. It needs constant work in order to ensure that it is relevant to the people that are looking for talent like you. You need to link your resume to your LinkedIn profile, and keywords are also important for the desired positions. So if you're looking for certain areas, certain fields that you would like to be in, make sure that you're using the keywords within the context of your LinkedIn profile. Important, 66% of recruiters will hold spelling or grammatical error on LinkedIn against you as well. And that does not only extend to your resumes and your CVs, but also to your social media profile as well. So I spoke to you about the fact that I was going to cover networking and how important networking is for you. And this is really essential in the big scheme of things, because we often forget that we have so many different channels that we've always used in a social manner. But now, again, as you are becoming more serious about really looking for career opportunities and looking for your companies and that, remember that the most valuable sources or channels in order to get to that ideal career is sitting within channels that you are already connected to. It could be any one from friends, family and acquaintances. It could be meetup groups that you are a member of, or an interest group and a community network. On LinkedIn, there are a number of different interest groups and LinkedIn discussion groups. And that is often where companies and where recruiters go when they are looking to source what we call passive people that are merely just sharing interest in that. Career fairs and exhibitions and conferences, company presentations and company open days, and webinars and discussion forums. So I'm going to go into each networking channel, taking a little bit of a deeper dive in this regard. As I say, going out there is important. These are the people that are actually going out of their way and will go out of their way in order to assist you with your key objective of securing your career of choice. So my first tip for you would be, have a look at the friends, family and acquaintances that are surround you. Make a list of your family and friends and colleagues and contacts, past and present. I know it's going to take a bit of thinking and pondering and reflection on that, but you need to go with a different mindset now. Reach out to the people that can assist you and ensure that you are keeping a list up to date and build on it, evolve it constantly. Know what your agenda is. Know what your discussion point is going to be. Know what your launch pad is going to be. How are you going to speak to these individuals? So have that opening line ready. The reason I've got one-page CRM up there, this is a platform. I use it in order to do business development and sales and marketing. But it's an inexpensive tool, and I urge you to use this in order to manage your contacts. You can categorize them on whether they're friends, family, acquaintances, professors, associates, anyone. It is a powerful tool, and it will help you to manage your connections, your communications, and your premeditated way of pulling on these different sources. Find out what channel of communication works best for each person, because I know that some people, they don't like WhatsApp. I know that the generation of today uses WhatsApp. In fact, I use it all the time because I want that instant gratification. I want real-time answers. Mail is too long. And for some or other reason, people don't pick up phones anymore. But texting and voice notes are my favorite, and I do it on WhatsApp. But it's not beneficial for everyone. It's not the most professional and ideal channel of communication. So please make sure that you ask what is the best route. Always keep that door open. So if someone turns you down or they say, I don't have time or whatever, always ask when would be a good time. You need to keep your foot in the door. You need to be proactive. It's not going to come to your door. You have to actually make it happen. So I'm hoping that everyone can hear this, but here is one-page CRM, and it's just a very quick demonstration that I've pulled off the web to show you how this tool can work to your benefit. Right, so I hope you enjoyed that. It just gives you an indication of if you want a self-management tool. This is it was predominantly built for sales and marketing and client relationship management, but you can use it as well for your contacts and your endeavors to secure your future employment. As I said, meetups and interest groups are also very important, and there are many, many out there. So make sure you use these groups. Make sure you get yourself out there, and make sure you're doing your homework on these groups as well, because there is a wealth of different people and professionals that you can hook into. Virtual career fairs and exhibitions and conferences, as we know it, I'm sure a lot of you have in fact attended quite a few of the virtual career fairs and exhibitions. And sadly, we saw a lot of companies moving their career fairs as we have it today. You can see we're doing this in a remote environment. It is very doable though, and the preparations behind going to these career fairs, exhibitions and conferences is no different to whether you do it in person or whether you do it online. So I would like again to urge you that before you hop onto a conference or a career fair or an exhibition of this nature, in fact, you need to put together a checklist. Check yourself. First of all, research which companies are exhibiting or presenting. Arrive informed, be hungry to learn and network and connect. Doing this can give you the edge, and it might actually spark some ideas at the same time. If you want to print out the floor plan for quick references, that could also help, because you can then start ticking away and making note of where you're going to prioritize where you want to be. Because let's face it, these career fairs are so fleeting. It's 1 day or 2 days and it's over. It's the perfect opportunity for you to capitalize on. Have your questions that you would like to ask beforehand. In the event that you get an opportunity to move into a breakaway room and be able to speak to a recruiter or a talent advisor, or in fact a representative of a company that might be presenting on possibly their graduate recruitment program. Ensure you have access to capture contact name and title and contact details. So what I'm saying is often you get names and designations and titles and companies and all of this wealth of information thrown around on these platforms. Be alert and make sure you're writing all of these opportunities down so that you can do the follow-up afterwards. Make sure that you're familiarizing yourself with company hiring processes. Many companies nowadays, when they are putting together their career sites, they want to make it easy for you to navigate through their hiring process. And a lot of them have actually outlined their whole hiring process from start to finish and what to expect. So go in and know what their hiring process is, and don't ask questions that have already been outlined clearly in the public space on their career sites. Have your agenda and your program available for quick references, and highlight what topics and speakers you would like to attend. I know that nowadays they have 5 streams at one time, and you can hop onto one of the 5 streams. So make sure that you have actually put the times down and you've allocated where you want to be. Ensure people in the household are forewarned that you are in an event, and capitalize on the time, because I know we have disturbances and all kinds of things happening in the background. And you've only got one opportunity, because not often are these career fairs recorded. Block off the time and don't have any disturbances, and listen attentively, as I hope you're doing today, because this is information that is gold, that everyone needs, especially where you are at in this chapter of your life. During the presentation and webinar, have an activity checklist. Ensure your camera is on, if possible, and smile, because at the end of the day, that's going to differentiate you. Dress appropriately. Don't come online with your pajamas on. Make sure that you're professionally dressed and put together, remembering that even if you're in a remote environment and you're on camera, people are summing you up. Ensure your environment is neat and professional. Participate and contribute to discussions. So make sure you put your hands up, be polite, don't interrupt when people are talking, and ensure once again that you are actively writing down names and contacts and designations, because this is your network that you're going to build into your one-page CRM in order to follow up with. Have a look at who's presenting. Have a look at who the participants are as well. Who's making comments? Who's putting relevant information out there? Breakaway work groups are fantastic, and these discussion forums give you the perfect opportunity again to in fact compile your list of questions. If you have the opportunity, break away from your friends. Exercise the confidence and don't be shy to ask those questions. And again, maximize on the captive time that you have to go straight to the source, because this might be your in. Don't sit on your mobiles. Ensure that your attention is all there, and hang on to the names of the company reps, the hiring managers, the recruiters, the talent acquisition specialists, because they are just as eager and hungry to get your name and get valuable people for their organization. Speak up and don't eat while you're on camera, because impressions do count, whether you like it or not. Pay close attention to your professional brand, even in the remote world. You might be in the remote world, but there's absolutely no excuses for being ill-prepared pre and post the event. You can be just as efficient virtually as well. And in fact, the same rules of engagement apply in the virtual world and in person at career fairs and conferences and summits. So I hope you're taking note of this, because hopefully when we start gradually moving into an in-person situation where we can start going to career fairs and exhibitions, all of this information needs to be pulled out, and you need to capitalize and ensure that you have ticked all these boxes. I'm sure many of you, or maybe still to come, will be invited to virtual company presentations and open days. This is a wonderful opportunity because I know that companies send out invitation to graduates by invite. And these are just as important in terms of preparing for these company presentations and open days. I urge you to do the research and conduct company background information and checks, as would recruiters and as would companies on you. It's out there. There's employee-generated content on company review sites, which are Glassdoor, Indeed, Google, Careers24. In fact, these review sites are almost like the TripAdvisor. I almost compare it to the TripAdvisor when people were traveling so extensively. And what do? The first thing you do is you have a look at the reviews of people that stayed within those different lodges and places. And surely that gives you an indication of, shall I go and stay there or shall I not? Same situation. Have a look at the information that employees are saying about these companies. It offers a wealth of information. If you're confident enough to ask questions, introduce yourself clearly and concisely for the presenter, as well as the students to see and hear, because they might very well have the same question, but just a bit too nervous to speak up. If you are shy though, write this down and go and ask the presenter afterwards. Or try and get the email address and get that information thereafter. Please put your screens away or put them on silent, because this creates such a bad impression. And the people on the other side think, well, how disinterested are they if they're basically looking at other screens simultaneously? If you need to make an emergency exit, you need to let the presenter know beforehand. Otherwise, it's going to look rude. If you're rushing off to an interview, but at the same time, you need to and want to be part of this virtual company presentation, make sure that you've given them the heads up beforehand. As I said, employee review sites rank tops. So go in there, have a look. And in fact, this is statistics of Glassdoor. Over 50% read online reviews before forming an opinion about a company. 87% are more likely to visit a company's career site after they view its profile and read employee reviews. And 78% say that employee ratings and reviews are influential when it comes to deciding where they want to work. We get to interviews, and I think you've all seen the movie The Devil Wears Prada. I wanted to put this up and show you the difference on where we were and where we are at with the next video.
What are you doing here?
Well, I think I could do a good job as your assistant. And yeah, I came to New York to be a journalist and sent letters out everywhere, and then finally got a call from Elias Clark and met with Sherry up at Human Resources, and basically it's this or auto universe.
So you don't read runway?
No?
And before today, you had never heard of...
No.
You have no style or sense of fashion?
Well, I think that depends on what you...
Hello. Here's your question.
I was editor-in-chief of the Daily Northwestern. I also won a national competition for college journalism for my series on the Janitors Union, which exposed the exploitation of... Okay. You're right. I don't fit in here. I am not skinny or glamorous, and I don't know that much about fashion, but I'm smart. I learn fast, and I would be very...
The exclusive on the Koala for women. But the problem is...
Okay, I'm going to skip this clip because it is a little bit soft, but
Thank you.
I'm more interested in actually showing you the next one, which is really about how technology is moving interviewing processes into a completely different world when it comes to putting together technology that's going to avoid biased and ensure that people have equal opportunity no matter what walks of life, genders, and races, and nationalities, and the works. How they're putting technology together to avoid all of this from happening. And this is basically a robot that was created in order to do unbiased interviewing. Her name is Tengai, and she was actually developed by a Swedish company. And have a look at this. You will find it quite interesting on how interviews have in fact changed.
So, why should we hire you?
Well, I think I'm the perfect candidate for the role. I love analyzing and organizing and executing these kind of complex projects. And also, my master's degree in corporate law is just the kind of academic background that I think would help me excel.
I'm sorry, but I don't believe that you're the person we're looking for.
Really? I especially like that it's a cross-functional role between the operations and legal department. And with my communication skills and my outgoing personality, I'm just the person you're looking for.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, but...
And when can you start? I can start immediately. I'm sorry, I don't think you fit our profile. 4 years experience in delivering projects, and the majority of them on time and within budgetary estimates.
Well, you have all the qualifications and experience for this role. It seems like you're the perfect candidate.
Really? Thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure, Nadia.
Join us in creating a world where technology is more human.
So that's quite a powerful video, and yeah, what can I say? Interviews are actually changing, and with Black Lives Matters and the social inequalities and the disproportionate unbias towards women and all of that, technology companies are looking at different ways of perfecting the unconscious bias, and the interviewing thereof. So let's continue. First of all, the CV preparation and the 8 most common mistakes. I'm not going to go into depth here because, as I say, ScienceBridge has got a wealth of information when it comes to the formulation of resumes and CVs online, a wealth of information. But just what I wanted to emphasize was the fact that spelling mistakes and bad grammar needs to be top of mind. A lack of attention to detail could outweigh your otherwise perfect CV. Focusing on duties rather than achievements is also important. And focusing on achievements versus too many duties, because companies are wanting to see what you attained. Using cliches, incorrect information, poor format, failure to tailor, job hopping and employment gaps, and too long. This was information that came from a professional search agency. And this is what they have experienced and what they feel candidates can improve on when it comes to preparing their CVs. I'm not going to go into much detail here because we are running a little bit out of time. But what I want to do is once again emphasize and highlight the importance of what I call the critical sandwich technique to include transferable skills. And each bullet point that you put together, whether it be on social media or whether it be in your CV or your resume, needs to start with a transferable skill, because that's what you are doing best. You then need to ensure that's followed by relevant technical skill that you've actually utilized whilst you have been in your chapter of academia, and end with a quantifiable result. This is absolutely essential, because you are then not only demonstrating and promoting your transferable power skills, but you are showing the interviewer your technical capability and the resultant effect. An example here is excellent teamwork and collaboration and skills. As you can see, that is a soft skill, but it's a power skill. It's a transferable skill, demonstrated by managing a multifaceted biochemical research project. There we go. So that is your skill set, and resulting in the development of 3 international collaborations. Okay, and so it goes on. If you read these, I'm not going to go through all of them, you can see that it has been very cleverly, each sentence put together, which basically has got a blend of the soft skills that support your initiatives that you actually, and your assignments that you worked on whilst you've been at varsity, as well as the outcomes, because that's what companies want to see. They want to see what was the impact that you made at the end of the day. So tips on CVs, as I say, I won't go into detail, but just ensure that you need to highlight what is relevant to the job. Don't send generic, because it's not going to stick with recruiters. Personalize through professional pictures. I always say, have one picture, let them put a face to the voice. Let them put a face to the CV. Put 2 to 3 pages only as well, because recruiters don't have the time to go through ROMs of paper. White space is important. Do not make it cluttered with big paragraphs and bullet points. Unstructured CVs are actually a nightmare as well. Put your accomplishments and achievements there in order to differentiate you. Make sure that you have put attention to detail, especially when it comes to crafting those sentences that I've just showed you. And ensure that you have someone proofread. Try and submit your CV to the contacts that you have built up, your network, or to a person or a referral, as opposed to it going into a black hole. Preparing for an interview is essential. The lack of knowledge disqualifies you at the end of the day. As digital natives, you know how to get the information. It's all out there. Your failure to prepare will mean that you are going to be prepared to fail. Give yourself enough time to prepare. Write down your questions. Give yourself enough time to prep for the actual interview, and request the format of the interview beforehand. Understand what the qualifiers are going to be. How many people are interviewing you? Who is going to be interviewing you? What are the designations of those people? All that information is essential in order to be prepared. Company websites are very important as well. On the company websites, there is an enormous amount of information, from everything from what the business does, how they focus on their people, the value proposition, the annual financial statements of what their projection is for the future when it comes to growth and careers and developments, and even employee testimonials once again. The best source of information for you when you go for your interviews is on social media, job boards, and best employer surveys. Have a look at the company Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Twitters. There's a window to real insights, especially when the employees actually put videos on the sites on what it's like to work there. This all provides a great story of the reputation of a company and the following that people have for these companies as an employer of choice. And yeah, I've just done a few screen dumps. Siemens Careers is one, Deloitte's Careers. As you can see, Biovac, this is their career site. Thermo Fisher, as you can see, all this information is available and it's across all social media channels. Preparing for your big day is very important. Make sure you are testing your technology beforehand. Ensure you're wearing professional attire, even when you go into your face-to-face interviews, and prepare for the most common questions. Limit the distraction. Don't lie on a couch. Rather sit at a table and a desk and ensure that your body language is professional as well. Build rapport. Make sure you've got interest and enthusiasm. Be authentic and convey as much confidence as possible. And always make sure that you have got a presentable CV that you can share if needs be when you are on that virtual interview. Understand that 55% of communication is actually body language, then tone of voice, and then words. During the interview, have manners. Sit upright. And as I say, pretend you are actually in an in-person interview. Don't interrupt. Listen carefully before answering. Don't ask salary because some people see it as disrespectful. Remain professional and positive. And especially when it comes to if they've got employees that are part of the team that they would like to introduce you to, and body language counts. Give your interviewer 2 to 3 days before you follow up, after you've had your interview. Send a thank you letter. If you are unsuccessful, request for feedback because this is how we learn. Don't become despondent and learn from your experiences. If successful, go out and celebrate. ScienceBridge has got a fantastic map of the various opportunities that prevail for you and what you can actually pursue and how you can actually transfer skills from one industry sector into one job to the other. Do yourself a favor and go onto their site and have a look. I know that Martina has put a lot of time and effort into putting and mapping these opportunities out for you. A brand is what people say about when you are not in the room. And as you know, Jeff Bezos is the CEO of Amazon. Please remember that it takes a lot of work to put yourself together as a personal brand. But it is so well worth it. And I can assure you that recruiters, whether they come from companies internally or whether they are external recruiters working on behalf of their valued clients, they will know if you've made the effort to put yourself together. I thank you very much and invite any questions or answers. Okay, if there aren't any questions, please feel free to get in touch with Martina and myself on ScienceBridge, and we will be just too happy to assist you with any further questions regarding my presentation. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and I'm sure there's a wealth of valuable information coming through from all the other keynote speakers. Thank you. Goodbye.